actually a nice person.
Donald Trump, a business mogul and media sensation who has taken the world by storm with his loose-tongued remarks, fruit-like complexion, and harsh foreign policies. So with him as the front-runner for the Republican Party, and with the general election nearing, we have to wonder, what if the Donald actually wins?
Part of the beauty of me is that I'm very rich.
We will try to break down how a Trump presidency would unfold as rationally and logically as possible, while weighing in the claims of Trump himself and the opinion of the American people. Firstly, bring jobs back to America.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that.
Trump vows to bring back jobs that have moved abroad due to lower production costs and tax incentives, saying he will put a 35% tax on all goods from American companies who have moved offshore, as well as taxing goods from
China
and Mexico, in hopes of getting large companies like Ford, Nabisco, and Carrier to continue manufacturing in the United States. However, this would not only have the effect of creating recessions in
China
and Mexico, but would also stagnate job growth in the US. The increase in price of goods from
China
and Mexico would reduce the buying power of Americans, which in turn would also affect the trade relations with other countries. This could potentially create an American recession as well, should either country retaliate with tariffs of their own.
China.
Once he secures the future of American jobs, what will he do next? Throw at all the people he says don't deserve them. The Donald believes that immigration has been treated too lightly in recent years, saying Mexico is sending
drugs,
and
crime,
and
they're rapists,
wait, sending crime? That can't be right. Oh well. Anything else?
and some, I assume, are good people.
Racism averted. So on top of enforcing immigration laws already in place, here's what Trump plans to do to catch and deport crime. Increase fees on ports of entry to the US, as well as all border crossing cards. On visas for NAFTA workers from Mexico, and temporary visas issued to Mexican CEOs and diplomats, or just cancel them if necessary. Ensure anyone moving to America has proof they do not need welfare, and make companies who want to hire employees have to go to the domestic work pool before granting visas to foreign citizens. While this will possibly provide more work opportunities for Americans who are desperately seeking it, it also means the American dream, shared the world over for decades, will cease to exist. As for illegals, people who overstay their visas would be subject to criminal penalty, and repeat illegals would receive increasingly severe sentences, which means locking them up in prisons. Sort of the opposite of what he said about sending them all back. On top of all this, all remittance funds sent back to Mexico would be held until citizenship could be proven. This means that anyone who sends money out of the country without proving they are a legal resident will have the funds seized until they provide documentation. That aside, in order to accomplish all these feats, Trump says he will triple the number of ICE officers from 5 to about 15,000. And he will make way for this by cutting a temporary resident tax credit that mainly helps poor Latino families. The ICE officers will also accompany local gang task forces on raids in order to detain dangerous illegals. And while the idea of getting rid of dangerous criminals sounds lovely, they are a small portion of the illegal population. So to find the rest of the 11 million that Trump says he will deport, illegal searches would have to be conducted, families torn apart, rights broken, and a lot of racial profiling. Speaking of racial profiling, Muslims. Radical Muslims have created a sense of fear worldwide that many would love to extinguish. As a result, all Muslims have been lumped in with them, and now the very word causes tension in the mind of Americans. Everyone would love the extremists to be gone, but they're not all extremists. On top of that, it's a religion, not a nationality. So in order to stop anyone from entering the country on this basis, they would have to admit that they were a Muslim. Which, face it, why would a terrorist ever do that? He's even gone as far as to say we need to shut down the parts of the internet where ISIS are. Sorry, Dad, I don't think you get how the intraweb works. As for all other illegals, meet the end of birthright citizenship. Take that, innocent babies who have no idea what's going on yet. Children born to parents not in the US legally will not be granted automatic citizenship. And while some of you say you need to amend the Constitution to do that, Trump says constitute this. Unfortunately, there are about 4,000 to 6,000 people in America who are stateless, meaning they lost their nationality due to war or natural disaster. The end of birthright citizenship will put them and their children's children in a stateless limbo where they're supposed to leave the country but are not allowed to. Limbo. Sounds fun. Now that those pesky people are out, how do you keep them out? Build a wall. A really big wall. Yes, a wall spanning the entire southern border, which some say will cost
10 billion. That means 4 billion, if you know what you're doing.
So don't worry, Trump will get this wall built for as little as
6 or 7 billion.
The wall's probably $8 billion.
The wall's going to cost $10 billion. Maybe 12.
And while Trump has been behind many great projects, to put that in perspective, the existing border fence put up in 2006 cost about $2.4 billion to build, and it spans only 1/3 of the border. Engineers say the materials alone for Trump's wall could exceed $17 billion. with the total more likely to be around 25, not including maintenance costs. But not to worry, because
Mexico is going to pay for the wall.
Mexican people, we are not going to pay any single cent for such a stupid wall.
Mexico is going to pay for the wall, and they're going to be happy about it.
I'm not going to pay for that wall.
The wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
if there's one thing Trump likes as little as illegals, it's Obama. It's no secret that he's been opposed to the president since forever, and if elected, Trump plans to reform Obamacare, revoking medical coverage for as many as 20 million Americans. Sorry. Among the other of Trump's more favored positions is his stance on lowering taxes. Taxes would be lowered across the board, but it would have the biggest impact on wealthy citizens and company owners like himself. The current corporate tax rate is 35%, which is the highest in the developed world. Trump plans to lower this to 15%, as well as cut the top income tax bracket from 39.6% to 33%, but put a $200,000 cap on household deductions. This would boost the after-tax income for the wealthiest 1% by about 5.3%. The mid-income tax bracket would see its 7 brackets collapse down into 3, and have the standard deduction raised to $15,000 for singles and $30,000 for families. It's also estimated that the proposed tax cuts would cost anywhere from $5.3 trillion to $9.5 trillion over the first decade, with the cost going even higher over the subsequent 10 years. Math is fun. Now that money has to come from somewhere. Aside from the aforementioned Obamacare reform, Trump plans to cut educational funding. This means laying off thousands of teachers and cutting grants for college students.
I know words. I have the best words.
Abolishing the Environmental Protection Agency.
I want to use hairspray. They say don't use hairspray. It's bad for the ozone.
Cut government regulations by 10%, none of which are specified, and expanding U.S. production of fossil fuel energy, all while still increasing military spending. But Trump will need that extra funding to pay for all the bombs he plans to drop, saying,
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
and then take their oil, bombing an Islamic terrorist group and taking control of their oil fields. Well, there's a first time for everything, and if you're worried about the government taking your guns, don't be. The Donald has grown very close to the NRA, with one of his strongest positions being that he will protect the Second Amendment at all costs. But if you don't like anything I've said so far, you may want to keep it to yourself. When an author disputed Trump's $10 billion worth as being no more than $250 million, he claimed defamation and sued him for $5 billion. And lost. Still, he's not going to give up on not being made fun of that easy, saying if he's elected he will make it even easier to sue for libel. And Donald knows a thing or two about lawsuits. His massive portfolio of companies has been the subject of both wanted and unwanted publicity over the years, and there would obviously be a conflict of interest should he win. Fortunately, there's a system in place for just this called a blind trust. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to know what that means, stating he would put his own children in charge. So I guess once it's all said and done, and the dust is settled, the only thing left to do is change the White House into the Trump House, and kick off the first season of The Apprentice, Miss Universe Presidential Edition.